Hey everybody, Merry Christmas. In this video tutorial, we're going to be showing you how to design a stocking made out of wood. Okay, so basic project setup for this one, we're going to be going with half a sheet of stock. So it's going to be 1220 by 1220. And our stock thickness is going to be 12 millimeters. So again, I've always choose to orientate mine based on this datum point up here, but you're free to move it to the center or move it to anywhere that you generally reference from. Okay, I'm just doing this for my own personal workflow. So as we open the file here, so I've got some vectors that we intend to use today. So I'm just gonna spend a second then and bring those in. Okay, so these are the three vectors that we're gonna be working from. So the first vector is a Christmas boot shape. So if I bring this down here, now the first thing we're going to do is hold Control on the keyboard and press C followed by V. And we're going to copy and paste that across to there. And one will form as the front. And as I just mirror this object horizontally, one will then function as the back. Okay, so I'm going to add a nice line vector across here. And we'll quickly form then our first tool path. Okay, so if I select this vector here to make our first tool path, and what we're going to have is a 2 millimeter deep V-groove line, and we're going to choose a 60-degree bit for that just to give us a nice fine crisp line, and we're going to cut just on the line itself. And as you can see, once our boot is finished, that's going to give us that little detail to divide between the top cushion part and the boot itself. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is our Happy Santa face. If I bring this one down here, and we're going to position this approximately here on our boot, and then I'm going to bring this happy little Christmas tree, and we're going to bring this down, and again, we're just going to spend a little bit of time orientating these to get them exactly where we want them. And that looks to be quite well centered. I would just like to tweak that over a little bit so it runs in line with the boot itself. Okay, so that's the front aspect of our boot. I'm going to quickly add some font to this, and we're here already on Breakout, which is one of my favorite fonts. We're going to go a text height of 33 millimeters, and we're going to say Merry and then Christmas. Okay, so I'm going to bring that up and centralize it over the top of our stocking. And again, what I'm looking at is this line down here and this line down here to make sure we're somewhere near parallel to both those lines. So that's not too bad. And again, just to make this into a finished text shape, if we come over here to our weld selected vectors option, and if we press that and replace those, we've done away with all those small inside vectors overlapping, which sometimes can cause issues then when you're trying to run your tool paths. So just going to spend a second and just tweak this little tree up a little bit. There we go. I'm quite happy with the orientation on that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on, and we're going to build some inner parts to this boot, which is effectively going to create a cavity then for you to fill with all those nice sweets. So if I just pinch this outside vector and hold Control, press C and then V, we've made another carbon copy. And I'm going to bring that down here over to our stock, and I'm going to add an offset boundary on the inside. I would like my offset boundary to be 20 millimeters, and we're going to go inwards, and that is perfect. Okay, from this step here, I'm going to draw a straight line, and I'm going to pick up this vector here, and we'll drop it there. Press space to start a new line. We're going to start from this corner here, and we're going to work our way upwards. Remember again, press space. So we use the magic scissors now, and we're going to snip the internal away. That's why. So I'm just going to make sure our lines are correctly orientated over our project. And again, as you can see, the Smart Snap features are asking it to move into some funny locations. So that should be enough there. We'll just double check this vector. That looks pretty good. So now if we get our magic scissors, we can snip this line, and then we can snip the remnants of these two lines away. And what we've got now is a template for the inside cavity. So our stock for this project being 12 mil, we are going to simply make another 2 of these. Okay, so that's all the main body parts for our stocking. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a T-slot then to hang our stocking on the wall. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add a 4.5mm circle, and this is going to form the start location for our T-slot. So if I come up to the top line here and click on the gadgets, remember these gadgets are free of charge to download from the Vectrix website. And I'm going to click on the keyhole toolpath. And because I've already ran one of these, it's already going to pre-populate our information. So we've got a slot depth of 9mm, a slot length of 25mm, and our entry hole is going to be 9.5mm, and the slot diameter is 3.5mm. So I'm going to make sure I've got the correct tool selected, which is the Trend C120 keyhole cutter. And if I press OK, we can see now that that is promoted our toolpath to start from the center of our hole here. So we can go ahead and delete this one which I inputted incorrectly. Now if I come over to our 3D view, what we should see now is the preview of our T-slot. Now this won't show correctly on the preview, but effectively our T-slot cutter is going to start down in this location here, then it's going to move up, and then it's going to move back down again before coming back out of the material. So next thing to look at is to make some VCarve passes to create all of this lovely detail. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and group some of this stuff just to make it easier then when selecting our toolpaths. So what I have to do now, it's grouped, is press once and I've selected all of our text together. The tree and the Santa Claus face are already pre-grouped, so that's fantastic. So what we're going to do is we are going to click on the Merry Christmas, and that'll be the first VCarve toolpath. I'm going to run that as a 5mm deep flat bottom, and we're going to select a 60-degree V-bit. I will hit calculate. There we go. Next, we're going to select the Santa face, and I'm going to run that then as a separate VCarve, but that will only be then 3mm deep. There we go. And lastly, because these are such fine small vectors, if I ask it to VCarve, we're going to be churning out lots of detail out of here. So an alternative way to do this is more of an engrave toolpath. So we're going to go to a 2D profile toolpath, and again, cut on the line. We're going to come down here and we're going to select a 30-degree V-bit. And we're going to cut that as a 1.5mm deep engrave. So remember, that's cutting on all the available lines. So that's going to look very, very smart. Okay, so now that lovely engrave is done, the last thing to do now is to cut our outer profile. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold shift on the keypad and using the left mouse button, select all of our different vector shapes. Okay, we're going to come over here to our toolpath operations and select profile toolpath. So starting from the top, we're going to cut 13mm into our 12mm stock. We're going to select the correct tool, which will be a 6mm solid carbide end mill. And we're going to cut outside of our vector boundaries. We'll do a final separate last pass at 0.01mm just to clean up all of those edges. And we're going to add some tabs, which will be 20mm by 6mm. And they're going to be 3D tabs. Okay, so that's all of our tabs now input onto there. And instead of using ramps, again, we're going to use leads. We're going to lead in and out by 45mm. And we'll cut our lead length down to 6mm. That'll be ample for what we need here. And we're just going to have a look at our start location. So all of our start and finish paths are going to be down here on the bottom of our vector. Okay, so that's only picked up on these two vectors up here. So it's telling me that there's a fault with these vectors. So if I go into vector validator, again, I'm not showing any issues with these. And it says that we've got a closed vector. So I'm not 100% sure why it would be not picking up on these. So I'm just going to play around with this toolpath then, see if I can get it to recognize these last vectors. Okay, so it seems that while we've been cutting and splicing these vectors around, if I highlight this one and show you, we're going to need to join these closed vectors by moving the endpoint to a common point. So I've cut and spliced at the top parts of these vectors, so we've obviously created an overlap somewhere. So I'm just going to press this feature here on each of the vectors then, and that should get them now recognizing on our toolpath strategy. So we're going to open this back up. We're going to select all of our vectors. And again, it's also lost the tabs off of here. So we'll just go back through and then just input these tabs. Okay, that's much better. No more warning messages, just telling us that we're going to cut through our material. So that is fantastic. Well, there we go. This is all of our parts made out now for our Christmas stocking. So the idea is each of these parts are cut out. So these would then be laminated to the back of our stocking. And then finally, this front piece would then be laminated to fix it all together. We're going to have a lovely T-slot then. So all we need is a simple screw in the wall. You can hang this up and fill it with sweets. So there we have it, guys. That's how we designed our Christmas stocking. If you do manage to make one in time for Christmas, we'd love to see it. You can share your projects with us by tagging us at Yeti Tool and using the hashtag SmartRouted. Merry Christmas, everybody.